×2. That means you get 2 constructs immediately from both triggering, which is giving you at least 2 4/4s. And here we have Thomas starting with a Candy Trail to surveil him towards that powerful card. He really wants to get the Simulacrum Synthesizer going. He has those Candy Trails in the early game, Iron Crack on turn 2 and Clay-Fired Bricks. A couple copies of Repurposing Bay in there as well. And then 4 copies of Perilous Snare and Spring-Loaded Saw Blades as removal spells. Iron Crack is the play. Tapped immediately for another Candy Trail. He's really just using his mana to the very best of its ability. Having spent a total of 4 mana worth of spells at turn 2 of the game. That's pretty good.
So, tell me how this Jeskai Oculus deck works. It was one of the most popular decks at the Pro Tour. Half of our team actually played it. People like Gabriel and Steve, John Finkel, they decided to run at the Pro Tour. What's the appeal of this deck, and how does it typically play out?
So the deck now is kind of it has 2 main game plans. On the one hand, it is doing what Marco is doing right here, putting Oculus into the graveyard, and then I see a Helping Hand already in the hand there, reanimating it on turn 3, which is obviously extremely powerful. We've seen that from the Blue-White Oculus deck for the last year. And then the alternative game plan now is that they play 4 copies of Prophet's Eidetic Memory, and they have a lot of creatures that have draw abilities attached to them. Fear of Missing Out, the Terza Light Shatter from Taki Dragonstorm, the Steamcore Scholar. So they all synergize very well with each other. They also all cost less than 3 mana, so you can get a bag of Helping Hand. They put your Oculus in the graveyard. Really a nice synergistic deck, and Proft really is incredibly powerful. It's just this kind of like blue beanstalk, you could call it in a way.
Okay.
Instead of drawing more cards, it just keeps putting counters on all your stuff and growing everything. I mean, imagine that, a 2-mana cantrip that just buffs your creatures over the course of a game by 7 power and toughness.
What I especially like about this card is that in the post-board games, your opponents typically have all these, Ghost Vacuums, Rest in Pieces against you, and all the graveyard hate that they can have in their sideboards, and that's where Prophet's Eidetic Memory shines the most, in my opinion. It's a sideboard games where the games are a little scrappy, the games are a little slower. You have a much harder time bringing back Oculus, and you have to just kind of work with fewer, I don't want to say resources, but fewer ways of executing your own game plan, and that's where the card shines the most. But yeah, back to the game. Repurposing Bay looks like it's getting activated, and it's bringing a Mesmerizer into play. So that's one of the best cards in the artifact deck.
Absolutely, that is the engine piece, and the Repurposing Bay are 2 of here. Being able to sacrifice a Saw Blade that was just able to kill that tapped Oculus. Super nice that the Helping Hand was able to sort of give the Saw Blades the premium target through its downside of being tapped when it comes to play. And yeah, tapped out now Thomas is, but he's going to be able to scry from that Simulacrum entering the battlefield. And with the Repurposing Bay in play, he can sacrifice his Iron Crack next turn theoretically and get another Synthesizer, and then play a 3-mana artifact and get 2 constructs. And looking at his hand, he does have a Braided Net, so he's implementing his game plan really well here. This is turn 4 of the game, and he has a lot of permanents worth mana. Like the Iron Crack turn 2 certainly did a lot here for him.
All right, back to Marco, who is considering his options. And I do want to say that this blue-white artifacts deck, it is always kind of flying under the radar. But when I was preparing for the last Pro Tour, it was actually the deck I was losing to the most with Domain. And Domain is typically good against the, mid-rangey strategies. But this deck is super resilient. Synthesizer is just incredibly powerful. And yeah, I think this deck is just, waiting for that one tournament when it can finally break out. Maybe it's this weekend.
Yeah, United Battlefront from Tarkia certainly seems like
an
addition. Notably, Glacial Dragon Hunt. Interesting. So the interesting thing about Glacial Dragon Hunt is if you discard a land, it doesn't do anything. You have to discard a spell.
Right.
And you can just play it to draw a card.
Yep.
It's a 2-mana cantrip.
Not great, but you know, the
Not great.
times are tough.
Marco actually decided to discard an Adaka Waste, which he didn't need to. Reason being, that's not play by him, is because he wants to fill his graveyard, because he's sitting on an Oculus.
Okay.
He wants cards in his graveyard. Yeah, so nice play by him there. Unintuitive. And yeah, Proft providing 2 additional power to that Fear. Already 3 power and toughness added. And there we see the Iron Crack being sacrificed. Thomas taking a quick look at his hand. But I would be surprised. Okay, he's going for the Braided Net. Sorry, excuse me, for the Perilous Snare. So he's choosing to go a little bit more into active instead of implementing his own game plan. Being fine with having just one construct come to play each artifact he plays. I guess that's already pretty strong.
That's pretty, you know, that's okay.
Oh, additionally, I should say that the land being in a graveyard is also, of course, great with the fear of missing out.
Yeah, working on that Delirium. But I mean, that's a great point. It's like you said, it's very unintuitive, and typically you don't want to, you know, use the downside of the card against you. Why would I put a card in the graveyard? I'm losing resources. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you have a couple extra lands and then Oculus sitting in hand, waiting to hopefully be played.
I'm a little confused right now. Actually, like, okay, well, I'll mention what I'm confused about after this turn is over, because Thomas is really going off. A lot of constructs. There's 7 power right now. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Looking at an empty board from Marco, I mean, yeah, this blue-white deck can do some stuff. But I think Marco had Delirium last turn. I see a sorcery, a creature, a land, and an enchantment. That's 4 types. So he forgot to untap his Fear, I believe, and get those additional 2 extra counters from the Prof, because it does re-trigger with the Fear having Delirium. And he could have attacked for 7, putting Thomas to 3 life. A swing for 12 with the Fear, which is one of the best cards in the Oculus deck, for exactly that reason. But I think he missed that he had Delirium.
Dorja Tower here, I don't think that would be quite enough to deal with the constructs. Yeah, once this Azorius Artifacts deck gets going and you start pumping out artifacts with Synthesizer, your opponent only has 1 or 2 turns, because it starts being you know, bigger and bigger and lots of power. There's the Oculus. So yeah, Dorja Tower was used just to fuel the graveyard a little bit more. Past the turn, we're gonna get a Manifest Dread token here.
Some nice value of the Dragon under the graveyard. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, this seems tough to overcome.
Yeah, now even the 5/5 body of the Oculus is just not going to be enough to deal with the constructs, right? Like, the more artifacts Thomas plays, the worse it's going to get for Marco. And he sure does have more coming. I think that was a snare that dealt with one of the creatures, and yeah, it looks like he's just going to attack for the win. So 1-0 for the artifact deck here.
Yeah, that was certainly very impressive. I mean, the artifact deck is very powerful. Simulacrum Synthesizer is very strong. I guess what you would always be scared of with that deck is sort of the aggressive decks, playing artifacts, not interacting with the board. When you're playing against Izzet Prowess and whatnot, that is the danger. But looking at his lists, he does have 4 lockdowns in his sideboard, so he is prepared for Mono Red and Izzet Prowess in that way. In this matchup, he's not going to bring in those lockdowns. He's certainly going to bring in those 2 copies of Rest in Peace he has access to. He has 2 Negate, 2 High Noon, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 3 Get Lost. The counter spells are not good. High Noon is only good against Prowess. Get Lost is certainly reasonable. It's a 2-mana catch-all.
Answer for Oculus.
A Fear that grown out of control. Anything really. And he's looking, if I look at his main deck, I mean, those Cryptic Codes he might not need. That seems like a pretty grindy card.
Yeah.
That he might not need in his matchup. And maybe something like Kayla's Reconstruction, that's a 2-off. That he could take out against like the negate, spell pierce type of effects that his opponent has in the sideboard available to him to punish him for tapping for that expensive spell.
What about the Jeskai deck?
So the Jeskai deck, we have 3 copies of Destroy Evil. Destroy target enchantment. Yeah, that's no disenchant, so
Yeah.
not very good here. 2 Chandra, which a little slow, I'd say, in this matchup. A little too slow. 2 Disdainful Stroke, doesn't hit enough. It does hit the Battlefront and the Kalas, but it doesn't hit anything else. So I don't love it. Negate 1 copy and 1 copy of Lauren. Those are great, fantastic. And 2 Ghost Vacuum, 2 Pyroclasm. They are not interesting at all here. And the last but not least, I guess, 2 Sheltered by Ghosts. It does interact with non-land permanent, but it opens you up to get blown out by something like Perilous Snare. If you can combine Sheltered by Ghost with a Spell Pierce type effect, or like a negate to protect your creature, that would be reasonable. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't have much in the sideboard, but looking at his main deck, I mean, the nice thing about the Oculus deck is it's extremely proactive. It doesn't have much cards that are like dead anywhere really. It just has these Torch the Towers that are really bad in this matchup, so he doesn't even have to take out that much. Yeah,
I like that the Oculus deck can play some situational cards because you can basically loot through them with all the various effects. What I like about the Azorius artifact deck is it's not something you play against every day. Even if you grind a lot of Magic Online or Magic Arena, it's not a deck that you pair up against a lot. So bringing that into a tournament, you might catch a lot of opponents off guard that just don't really know how to play against you. They don't know what the right lines are, how they should sideboard in the best possible way. They might open themselves up to getting blown out by some of the cards you have or sideboard incorrectly. So I like that shows from that perspective. Clearly it's been working out here. 4-1, pretty good record going here into round 6. Quick reminder, we're playing the regional championship, so most of the players here are trying to qualify for the Pro Tour, but if you are interested in finding out how you can participate in one of these tournaments, how you can qualify for a regional championship, make sure you visit fanfinity.gg, where you can read about all the upcoming tournaments, all the regional championships, all the spotlight events, and you can also find RCQs near you using the store and event locator that you can find on locator.wizards.com. And you can also go to your regional organizer's website, which in this case is obviously Fanfinity. So once again, fanfinity.gg. Make sure you also follow all the social media channels, especially Twitch, especially Twitter. And that way you can hear all the news about all the upcoming regional championships, all the upcoming Spotlight series, which the ones that are going to be played after this event are the Spotlight Series Liverpool, that is coming up at the end of October 31st. And then we have the Regional Championship in Antwerp, which you can currently qualify for in your local game stores. And that is coming up in November 21st.
Yeah, also tomorrow we're going to have the big Ultimate Guard Open, where you can also qualify for on Sunday. For the people that didn't make day 2, they can all qualify and maybe learn something from the hard lesson on day 1 for that Sunday Open to qualify for Antwerp as well. Yeah, the artifact deck, it received a little bit here and there over the last few sets. The Perilous Snare coming out of Ether Drift. Repurposing Bay as well. Those were some nice ones. And now we have that United Battlefront to really explode. Like, if you can get 2 cards worth 3 mana, that's good. Yeah. Cheating a little bit, right? That's what you want to do.
How many hits do you have actually in this deck? Because I remember all the Collective Company decks from like Standard and Modern, and 22, 26. Like sometimes it would get a little dicey, but this deck looks like it has plenty of hits because outside of lands and Battlefronts, you only have 2 copies of Carla's Reconstruction. Most of the cards in your deck are going to be
extremely maximized.
Yeah, it is
30 hits. 30 hits is way
30, right? Yeah.
I think like 23 is the number for the United Battlefront. That's sort of like where you want to be at least.
Yeah,
23. So 30 is good. He's not going to look at many
bricks
that only have 1. Let's say.
Speaking of numbers and all that stuff, like meta games, like the number of cards you should be running, with your collected companies and United Battlefronts or your mana bases, make sure you also visit the Metagame Mentor articles from Frank Karsten. He writes these on the magic.gg website for Wizards, and you can learn about you know, what's good in the current formats and how do you get a leg up on the competition. But back in the game, it looks like we have a pretty quick start from Marco here, who starts on a Marauding Mako, which is also a modern all-star these days in the Holo 1 decks, followed by Fear of Missing Out.
Yeah, it's a really good card in the deck since Tearza and Glacier Dragonhunt just power it up so much.
But there's the Rest in Peace. So yeah, Marco's gonna have his work cut out for him. No
well, the thing is though, as I said, the deck has two game plans now. It has the Proft aggressive discard game plan with Makos and all these discard creatures, and then Oculus is the side game plan. So it can win even without it, and it can discard the helping hands when they're bad, obviously. Unfortunately for Marco, he doesn't have a discard outlet, and he is actually sitting on 2 helping hands. So he got definitely got by this.
You know what I really like about Thomas's deck? He can actually put Rest in Peace into play at instant speed. With United Battlefront, it's actually something you could do during your opponent's turn. So that's pretty cool.
No, sorry, it's a sorcery actually. It is a little debuffed.
Never mind. But you do have additional ways of finding Rest in Peace. So you don't just play the 2 copies, you also have the extra United Battlefronts. And there it is, but Marco is ready with
Thomas was not impressed though. He was like, yeah, sure.
Whatever, yeah.
It's like, I feel like he's certainly confident right now, and he... Oh, Tearza. That is a great draw. He can get rid of both his helping hands. That's fantastic for him. Thinking what mana to keep up. The Shivan Reef is able to cast Spell Pierce and Mako.
These are not very useful at the moment. Gonna ditch them to Thursa, attack for 5, and I think he picked up 2 copies of Profts.
I mean, at least it's not a land, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Yeah.
That's actually threatening lethal, isn't it?
Yeah.
5 power plus 2 Profts, 7. The format for Liverpool has not been announced yet.
I'm hoping it's going to be limited. We don't have any information on that. I think it is up to Wizards to decide.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping for a cool limited event.
Braided Net, a very powerful card in these artifact decks. It is, Tumbling Magnet. Is that the card? Back in the days, Tumbling Magnet, like a limited card.
The one that you could tap something for like 3 turns before it ran out of counters. Yeah,
that's pretty much what it does on the first ability, and then on the last ability, you can draw a lot of cards, as many cards as you have artifacts in play. Like if you craft it, and then it also re-triggers your Simulacrum. So he's definitely gonna not prevent. He's preventing his death here for sure, but tapping the Tearza. And yeah, there's a Fear of Missing Out, discarding the 3rd copy of Helping Hand here. The pressure is on.
Marco picks up a copy of Negate. So yeah, looks like Thomas is going to have possibly 1 more turn to figure out how to deal with this board before Marco is going to have Negate up. Attacks Thomas down to 2, passes the turn. Yeah, I don't think there are any sweepers in the blue-white list. Was there anything in the sideboard?
He has the 4 lockdowns, but he is presumably not bringing them in here. But that was a good draw. I think he didn't have that, and now he can go Get Lost plus Snare and tap the last creature. So he's actually stabilizing. Marco can't be happy about that. Well, Marco doesn't know about the Get Lost yet, but now Thomas has to... That's a big decision point here. Does he want to keep it up? Oh yeah, he's going to keep it up, but that might be costly because Marco does have a negate.
So second Profts is the play. Draw a card, Legend Rule the other.
Drew a Steam Core Scholar and has a mountain here, so can go for that or hold up the negate. He knows one of his creatures is going to be tapped, so whatever creature he buffs here with the Proft is the one that Thomas is going to tap with the Braided Net. That Marco already knows.
This is an interesting situation because if I'm Marco, are you thinking that, hey, if you had a way to remove, one of my creatures, would you have already played it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but decides to hold on, keeps the negate up, and it looks like he's going to get rewarded because now as Thomas fires off the Get Lost, he does have the opportunity to counter that. Question is, does he want to do that or play the Scholar instead? Oh,
okay.
Decides to let it go. Interesting. So no damage gets through. The Fear of Missing Out is tapped. There is a couple of map tokens, and now he can play line number 3 and the Scholar, but you do want to add another creature to the board here, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, I agree with you. I think if you're not countering there, you play Scholar. I don't like this middle ground of holding up negates. I don't like it too much.
But that's the thing. That's the thing about playing against this Azorius Artifacts deck. What is the correct line, right? Like,
it's really difficult deck.
How often have you been in this exact spot? Like, should you be holding up negate? Like, sure, I had 3 minutes to look at your deck list, but do I remember all of it? Like, yeah, it feels like maybe just sitting on the negate is just a safer play here.
But as I touched on earlier, there is a Shelter by Gostou now from the map on top, and he does have the negate to protect it, so that's a really nice combination at least. But this Braided Net is going to prevent him from attacking for 1 more turn at least.
That's a repurposing bay, and that one gets negated.
That is a fair thing to do.
Yeah, so Marco rewarded for sitting on the 2 untapped lands.
Yeah, Clayfire Bricks, not a card that you see very often. It's a 2-mana artifact stone. It gets your planes and gains 2 life. And you can craft it with an artifact for, I think, 7 mana, and then you get like a hymn, like 1/1 for every creature to every creature, and you get 2 1/1 servo tokens.
Cool.
So yeah, Thomas is kind of out of gas, I guess, but he can flip that Braided Net and draw a lot of cards. But that's 6 mana of an investment to make, so not the greatest either.
And he's pretty close to stabilizing.
Yeah. What is this Shelter gonna do? I guess it's gonna take out that Perilous Snare. Get that Fear into play. It's either that or Braided Net. You could also start with Scholar to see what you draw. That's pretty reasonable. Yeah. Deciding to do that.
All right, so Scholar is the play. 2 cards drawn. There's another Sheltered by Ghost, and I think that's another Proft or another Scholar.
Another Scholar. So he can either discard 2 Sheltered here or the Scholar. I would think that keeping both Sheltered is a little bit better. The Scholar is quite good, of course, with the Proft also in play. It's a guaranteed 4/4 for 3 mana.
Yeah, those cards just line up so well together.
Yeah. Absolutely, they're an incredible combo.
Why do you think Marauding Mako was not that popular at the Pro Tour?
Just not enough discard outlets that were playable or like good. You didn't have the Glacial Dragon Hunt, which is so nice with the Mako, and you didn't have the Terza.
Yeah, Terza makes the deck so much better, and I love Terza in the Ragdos Reanimator deck that Jesse Hampton played online to win one of the challenges. I think that's one of the sleeper cards of the set. Like, maybe it's not really a sleeper anymore, but feels like one of those cards that, you know, we're gonna start seeing more and more in successful decks.
Actually, I have to correct you there, if I may. Jesse did not just play in a challenge, he qualified in the last final stage of the Mox.
Oh, it was okay.
For the Magic Online Championship.
Oh, cool.
So like the pinnacle of Magic Online.
Even better. That's really cool. That's really awesome.
Impressive. And he apparently figured the deck out like in the morning before.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Using your opponent's hopeless nightmares against them. Sure, I'm gonna discard this Atraxa. In the meantime, Fear of Missing Out picks up Sheltered by Ghost. That takes care of the snare.
This is the Fear's being tapped, but at last Tumbling Magnet counter.
Okay.
Net. And now we can put some free counters on the Scholar and play an island and crack that map.
I really like I really like the APAC lands from Marco here. The Fuji Mountains, one of the nicest ones. Shivan Reef gets picked up for free by Marco off the top of his deck thanks to the map token, and he passes the turn. Thomas picks up another land, and he does have one more non-land card, but is it going to be enough to deal with the board? I didn't quite catch...
It is a repurposing bay.
Okay.
I honestly, like, there's no artifact sweeper you can fetch up here. Like, I don't really see it, I have to say. Looking at his deck list, there's not anything that he can get that's like... He can get single spot removals that's going to take care of one creature, but that's not enough. He's probably trying to figure out... We'll see what he... Maybe he finds something that I can't see right now.
Perhaps there is a way to craft some of the artifacts. No, he's going to activate the Bay, cracking the clay fired bricks. And what is he going to get? Another snare, but is that enough?
Yeah, he can... Oh, it actually is enough, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, because he has the 2 mana open, that extra land was actually really useful here.
Mm-hmm.
You can now take out the Sheltered by Ghosts equipped fear, get that other snare back, and exile the Scholar, and then he's facing just a 2/3. Okay, yeah, that actually works.
He just needs to dodge marker drawing enough cards on his turn to make that fear into a lethal threat.
Yes, absolutely. Thomas playing this very well. Both players almost empty-handed, used up all their resources. Fair game, I guess.
Yeah, Thomas says, yeah, that's all I got.
Oh wow, there's
your worst.
Off the top. That was a great draw.
That's a good start. Okay.
So Marco has the Shivan Reef and the Fear, and he's thinking if he should play the land before. Is his thought process that he might draw the Anchorage and he would want to play the Manland there? That's like a next level deep type of thinking. Because the obvious play is to just play the land, get the extra land in play. If he draws the Restless Anchorage there, I'd be very impressed.
So decides to just put a counter on one of the fears, attacks for 3. Thomas is down to 3 and passes the turn. This needs to be something good.
Oh,
Synthesizer.
That's pretty
good.
Interesting. Like, the thing is though, okay, so he has the Bay now. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, he can just sacrifice his Saw Blades and get another snare.
Yeah, anything that creates value, like puts a creature on the battlefield or deals with one of your opponent's creatures, is going to be good here, because presumably he can deal with one of those creatures by activating the Bay.
Yes, and then he has one blocker, for like a gigantic blocker. Man, barely stabilizing. But he's gonna snare away the bigger fear, and then the small fear is left, and the small fear isn't even lethal at that point. So even if Marco finds a removal for the 7/7 construct or whatever size it is, he just has 2 power right now. Oh, he's going for a Braided Net. Interesting. Kind of similar to a removal, I suppose.
Yeah.
Thomas seems to be playing this deck very fast and tight. He knows the ins and outs of it. And then he's going to craft this other Braided Net. Oh, that only costs you 2 mana, huh? Okay. Yeah, that's... And then now he's going to get another Simulacrum trigger, because this is a 4 mana artifact coming into play. So he has 2 blockers and the Braided Net at the ready. And the backside of Braided Net is pretty good. It's a braided Quipo, and you can tap it for 4 mana and draw as many artifacts, draw as many cards as you have artifacts in play, and shuffle it. After that, put it like in the 3rd position in your deck or something. So he has a draw, I don't know, 7 coming next turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 artifacts, or 8 even, I guess. The construct says 8.
Marco plays another Props, draws a card, Legend rules the other one away, and yeah, he's probably going to need to close out the game right now, because if he doesn't...
Oh, he drew a Lauren.
Lauren is pretty good here, and a Spell Pierce also.
He can blow up the snare that has a Scholar under it, get a Flyer into play, find something useful.
I mean, do you want to let your opponent draw, 7 cards next turn?
Well,
I guess they
the question, like, mana, yeah, I mean... maybe you can. Maybe the only way you win is a flyer, but the flyer will just be killed next turn. You say, yeah. This is tough.
There's too many good targets for the Lauren. Like, you want to deal with the repurposing bay, you want to deal with the braided Quipu, you want to deal with the synthesizer. I guess what you have to consider here is, how does the game look like where I win? As you mentioned, maybe the route to victory is I just get a big flyer. Maybe I just need to put multiple creatures onto the battlefield this turn. Maybe I need to stop you from drawing 7 cards.
Yeah, I'm afraid that, I mean, Thomas has another braided net, so he has access to the draw again down the line if he wants to.
Well, there's the Lauren. What's the target? Okay, so Snare is the target, so he does get back the Scholar, like you mentioned, draws 2 cards. That was 2 fast land, not ideal, so puts those in the graveyard. Trigger Profts.
Lauren also a synergy with the Proft.
Right.
Getting you... Yeah. Getting you, drawing you and your opponent a card there. Turned out to be an interesting game here.
Oh yeah.
Looked like Marco was almost able to get it done, at least had the ability to put Thomas to 1.
I thought it was game. But then Thomas somehow turned it around, and now we're here. Now the constructs are too big for Marco to even attack.
Yeah, now we're gonna see a big draw, I presume. He didn't even have to use his tumbling magnet because he had 2 blockers in play. All those counters still there. So what is this? Draw 6?
Does it count itself? It counts itself.
I don't think it counts itself, does it? Oh, it does?
I think it, like, when it's resolving, it's in play, right? Either way, he looks like Thomas is drawing 2, 3, 7 cards. And they might just be checking with the judge now whether it counts itself or not, or did you flip the card around? Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, it does count itself.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Ricardo was checking. Okay, can you show me the actual Oracle text, or can you show me the card? And he gives him the thumbs up. So Thomas draws 7 cards, and let's see what he's able to do now with a fully restocked hand. 2 synthesizers, there is a Plains, there was another Rest in Peace.
Yeah, he's looking at a full grip of cards. He hasn't played a land yet. So he has 4 mana available to himself. 4 mana means he can cast a Get Lost and activate the Repurposing Bay. But the Repurposing Bay doesn't really have any good fodder left here. He doesn't play any 4 mana cards, any 4 mana artifacts to get. So he can sack a Construct to get a Candy Trail, which, you know, it's a bit slow, doesn't trigger your Synthesizer, and sacrifice your 7/7.
Yeah, you don't really want to do that.
He's staring down 4 creatures. He has 2 blockers right now. If he goes Simulacrum, he gets a 3rd blocker in play. And he can tap the flyer with the braided net. Lauren just having 2 power, that will change likely, although... he goes for the Cryptic Code. Yeah, that's actually kind of smart. I like that more than the Synthesizer. That gives him 2 additional blockers. Oh, and there's a Spell Spears. Yep, nice for Marco keeping that. Okay, so now Marco doesn't quite have lethal, but he's close to it. He can put him down to 1 again. The problem is that the Profts and the Lauren, like, if he puts the count on the Scholar is just going to get tapped. If he puts the count on the Lauren is going to get tapped, and the Scholar can attack for 2, putting Thomas to 1. So the Lauren here isn't lethal with that Proft synergy.
But that was an insanely impactful Spell Pierce, because that also means the Cryptic Code doesn't hit the battlefield, doesn't trigger the Synthesizer. You don't get to make another another construct token. And remember, Thomas's deck is really good at turning the corner very quickly, right? Because these constructs, you just need 1 or 2 turns of playing more artifacts, and all of a sudden you have an army of constructs that can just kill your opponent in 1 swing.
All right. Sorry, Chad. Yeah, he already played the land, right?
He did play an island before drawing the cards, yeah.
I think the Iron Crag earlier being in a mana base confused my brain. Anyhow, we're looking at a Mako probably being cycled at this point. Oh, the Lauren was activated before attacks. Interesting. There's an Oculus, which is a total blank. With Rest in Peace in hand, in play.
I do have to say, Marco is doing a really good job of, making this an interesting game, despite the fact that there was Rest in Peace in play since turn 2. So basically half of his deck doesn't work. Helping Hands doesn't do anything. Oculus doesn't really do anything. And despite the fact that there is a Rest in Peace in play, his deck is still, doing almost all the things.
Yep. Now Thomas untaps with 8 mana.
Yeah, he has to be stoked about that.
Yeah.
I didn't die, now I have a full hand, and I get to possibly make such a big army that if I just pass the turn one more time, next turn you might just be dead.
Yeah, he's looking, he can spend 3 mana each on the 2 Simulacrum Synthesizer, making a total of, 3 additional tokens?
And still hold up the get lost.
Hold up the get lost. That is a pretty good.
Yeah, that
to be
sounds like a good turn. Synthesizer number 1, exactly as you said. There it is. Does it resolve? Yep.
I mean, with that resolving, you can almost attack with these constructs at that point. It's going to be like 12 power each.
We are certainly approaching the spot where you can do
one of them has to be blocked, actually. And with one of them being have to be blocked, that means an additional attacker goes down on Marco's side, and then he just is down to the Scholar and the Laura and the Fear against 4 blockers on the ground. Oh, okay, he's deciding to go for this line instead, playing a little bit more carefully, interacting a little bit more, casting Iron Crag and sacking it immediately.
Yeah, uses that repurposing bay 1 more time to get another snare. An artifact came into play, so I'm gonna get a couple more construct tokens, no big deal. I think he's counting how big they are right now, and it's certainly gonna be 10 plus pretty quickly if it isn't already.
This is game 2, by the way, and they're down to 13 minutes on the clock.
Yep.
And that's quite a game.
And by no means are we trying to say that they're playing slow. There's just so many things happening. It's just a typical Magic game in 2025. Everything has 7 abilities, 17 lines of text, so many different interactions.
Oh, he's just going for lethal. He just
wow, look at that.
Going in there. Wow.
Oh my God, congratulations to Thomas here for picking up game number 2 and moving to
love it.
5 and 1.
Simulacrum Synthesizer.
Yeah, good.
That was on my bingo card. Thomas knows that deck inside and out. That he really showcased that during these games. Just going for the lethal there. I mean, he had the